I never did get the opportunity to meet Vernon Baker. Our geography just never aligned, but I always had kind of a daydream. Vernon Baker lived in the Northwest woods up in Idaho. And I'd go up to his house and I'd knock on the door and he'd come to the door and he'd always have his M1 in his hand. And I'd say, hello, Mr. Baker, sir. My name is Stephen Lang, and I'm going to be portraying you in Beyond Glory. And Vernon Baker would look at me and say, well, I always figured it would be Morgan. Or maybe Denzel. But you would certainly be my third choice.
And he's here to present a portion of what's called Beyond Glory, and it recognizes the great achievements of Medal of Honor recipients. So without further ado, I'd like to turn the microphone over to Mr. Stephen Lang.
Bastards! 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 Bastards!
Screwed up my nookie on a Sunday morning. I was after some love with my beautiful wife. Oh, that's honest to God what I was doing when they come. Oh, everybody said later that so-and-so come and awaken me.
Hell, the only people asleep were the morons in Washington who didn't advise the Admiral as to what was coming off. It was my little pal Woodrow who awakened me that morning.
Citation for extraordinary heroism and devotion above and beyond.
Hold on there, sunshine. Let's don't rush through the damn thing. Like I said, about the time I saw the plane flash by my window, I'm laying in bed with a pup tent situation. Yeah, you know what I mean. And my wife, Alice, she jumps out of bed and she's looking out the window at Hawaii-Olo Hill and she says, "Oh, John, it's beautiful." And I'm looking at her beautiful little ass and I said, "It sure is."
Above and beyond the call of duty during the first attack.
Say, by God, my name is John Finn. I'm 97 years old. It's my turn to talk for a while. Then you make big goddamn fuss over me. That work for you?
Sir.
All right, then. Goddamn. He looked like he'd about...
I'm actually not sure that I would call it a play. I mean, it's definitely theater. I've performed it, somewhere between 400 and 500 times. The tour is a chance to take it to the heartland of America and to bring it back to the troops. Well, a journalist buddy of mine, Larry Smith, gave me an uncorrected copy of a book about to be published based on first-hand accounts from Medal of Honor recipients. I just started noodling around with it, and this is what came out. I've performed it all over the world, from Pearl Harbor to the Persian Gulf, from Guam to Guantanamo.
I was
From
16.
Afghanistan.
When I went down there recruiting station, I thought, oh shit, a few weeks don't make any difference. Yeah, when they give me the exam, give me the physical. Recruiter says, how are your teeth? I said, I got pretty good teeth. I had beautiful teeth. Yeah, I still do, yeah. Okay. All right, Sonny, you come on back in 2 weeks and you bring your mother and your father with you. Well, I come back. I come back on the 29th of July, 1926. I'm just 17 and I brought my mother with me and oh my God, they treated her like she was a queen. Yeah, they got her a cup of coffee and sit her down in the chair. Ah, it was wonderful. Oh. Now come this tough-looking sailor. Sonny says, you sure you want to join the Navy? You know you got to scrub your own clothes. You realize in the Navy you got to stand a lot of watches. You don't get to sleep all night, all the time. You understand it? Yeah. None of that bothered me. No. Only one thing worried me. They give me a leaflet, yeah, and it says the Navy food is wholesome but plain. Yeah, that worried me. I thought I was going to be eating rice and boiled potatoes with no salt for 3 years, but well, I wanted to join the Navy. And then when I got to boot camp, oh my God, I love the Navy. Sliced roast beef, yeah, and gravy, lettuce and tomato salad, watermelon and corn on the cob. I couldn't believe the food, I'm sure. Sure, I remember some numbnuts complaining about the goddamn Navy slop, but shit, I never got such good food in my life as I got in the Navy. I thought I'd die. And went down, goddamn, rice and boiled potatoes. Yeah. 32. Got back from China. Oh, saw a beautiful blonde in San Diego. Oh, after all them little Chinese gals in, saw a beautiful blonde. I said, gotta do something about that. Alice? I said her name was Alice. Alice, I'll take you anywhere you want to go, but I got to tell you, I haven't ridden this bike much here but a BMW in China. And maybe you better go with Bobby or with Slim. And she says, I want to go with you. So off we go, and we just rode around. But then I feel a tremor on the back of the butt. What the hell is that? Well, do you know? This girl now standing up on the pack rack on the back, got the tips of her fingers on my shoulder. She's standing up. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, she got some guts. This beautiful blonde is the last girl in the world that could be playing tricks on a motorcycle. Well, we rode along like that, not going fast, maybe 20 or 25 miles an hour. Oh my, she was muscular and strong and graceful. Everything. We got married in 33. So, you got to understand, on that morning, December 7, 1941, I'd been in the Navy 15 years and I'd participated in all kind of war games. I mean, you live at a naval station, you hear planes fly, but then here's damn machine guns. Who the hell fired machine guns? I'm chief ordnance man around here. If anybody's gonna be firing machine guns, I would know about it. And then I thought, hey, what the hell is happening here? It's Sunday. Okay, Sunshine, you can fill in a few details now.
Sir, Lieutenant Finn promptly secured and manned a 50 caliber machine gun in a completely exposed area, which was under heavy enemy machine gun strafing fire. Although painfully wounded many times. All right,
that's fine. It's right. Well, it's pretty much right. But you got to understand, by the time I got to the hangars, the enemy were reducing every plane on the field to a rubble of smoke and melted aluminum. And then I hear a plane roaring in the stern of me, and I look up, and I see the big old red meatball, the Rising Sun insignia on the underside of the wing. So what I did was I grabbed a 30. It was a 30 caliber machine gun, and oh my God, did they fire fast. And I drug that son of a gun out maybe 20 yards onto the tarmac so I could see over the hangars. And I started firing, and for the next 2 hours and a half, I fired that gun. I fired that gun till the last of them left. And not every one of them did leave. And that's a fact. Now, there were some lulls at which times I would hasten back to my armory and assess the damage and kick somebody in the ass. So now I'm slapping a fresh belt on that 30, and I look up, and I see these little black mice turds coming towards me. And I said, fuck. And I outrun those bombs. I jumped in a stairwell. I didn't even hit the deck before I heard these three big crash and roll and horrendous explosions. Boom, boom, boom. Concrete and glass was coming down. A ton of glass fell on
Although
me.
painfully wounded many times.
I understand, I'm not the only sailor catching this shit. No, by no means. Christian Guinness and Bucky Walters were both badly injured. Oh, yes, Christian was trying to jerk the hangar doors open when the bombs hit, and the concussion from the blast blew the doors all to hell and smashed every damn bone in his hand.
Although painfully wounded many times, he continued to man his gun and return the enemy's fire vigorously and with complete disregard for his own safety.
Well, I was madder than hell.
I wasn't being courageous. All I was doing was I'm pissed off. I was doing exactly what I thought I would do if there ever come a war. Now, maybe I didn't have sense enough to come in out of the rain, but I can truthfully say I don't remember being scared to death. But I was goddamn mad. No sex, no breakfast.
Anger, hunger, sex. Greatest instincts we got. Things we're born with. What else is here, huh? With Nimitz, Admiral. Nimitz hung the medal around my neck. He says, Finn, it gives me great pleasure to hang this medal around your neck. September 15, 42, aboard the SS Enterprise. In Pearl. A lot of fellas got decorated that afternoon, and rightfully so, but mine was the only Medal of Honor presented to an individual who fired back at the enemy that day. I am proud of that. Now, let's see. That's about it.
Sir?
Yeah. Oh, time to move on, is it?
Finn, John William, Lieutenant, U.S. Navy. His extraordinary heroism and conduct in this action at Naval Air Station Kaneohe Bay, Territory of Hawaii, 7 December 1941, were in keeping with the highest traditions of the U.S. Naval Service.
That's my story. Good one, ain't it?
It's not very glamorous. No, sir, it is not a good story, but then I guess it's consistent with war. Laying in the rice paddy that night, the little group I was in, maybe 6 or 7 guys, they told me I did a good job. They told me they were going to see that I get a medal. Yeah, well, you take that with a grain of salt. I did what I did because it was my job. And if I didn't do it, none of us were going to get out. At least that's what I felt. I still stand with that. I have no idea at what point the other medics were killed.
Clarence Sasser is a remarkable guy. He's insightful, he's reflective. Like so many soldiers from so many different wars, Vietnam left Clarence wounded, scarred, psychologically, emotionally, and physically. But he's persevered and he's healed himself over the years. It's been a long journey since that day in the rice paddy when he was with Alpha Company. That's 106 men in a rice
January
paddy
10,
in Vietnam.
1968. We're part of a battalion-sized search and destroy mission. 3rd Battalion, 60th Infantry, my company, Alpha Company, 106 men. Yeah, we said to be back up, we're gonna have an easy time of it that day, but it got bad pretty quick. Yeah. They had us surrounded on 3 sides, and all their mortars, that's primarily what they had, mortars, was zeroed in on the rice paddy along with the 30 caliber machine guns. And of course, the AK-47s, a man, they started chopping us up immediately. Guys are dropping like flies, hollering, medic, medic, doc, doc. First guy got to us badly hurt, shot through the chest, sucking chest wound. After I bandaged him, I told him to try to keep his head above water, except this guy's half in and half out of consciousness. Yeah, but that's all you can do, stabilize a trauma situation and move on. I went from one guy and on to the next and on to the next and so on, and then I would go back to check on them. Now, the water in the rice paddy is knee deep and the muck is sucking the boots off your feet, so you can't move with any dispatch. Had to belly crawl like I'm a reptile, grab handfuls of rice paddy, drag myself along, and the whole time the bullets are flying, mortars are coming in, snipers all around. And it's not like you can return fire, because you can't set your mortar, your machine gun in that muck. Only thing you can do is keep your head down. Wait for night to fall. Hope that the moon ain't full. We're out there more than 12 hours, and only 12, that's right. 14 men out of 106 come in without being killed or wounded. I was the only medic that lived, yeah. I got a bullet in the back of the leg at the outset, not too bad. A couple hours into it, I got sprayed with shrapnel from a mortar hit on my shoulder, my back, and my hip, and my leg. Man, that hurting was something, because you know when a mortar shell explodes, that shit's hot. It's real hot, and I get those fragments tearing and burning. Yeah. But unless a shell fragment hits an artery or nerve, it's more aggravation and pain than life-threatening. After a while, it got so quiet. The fighting would wax and wane, so I raised up to look. This one sniper got me right here on the top of the skull, and the bullet bounced off. I was not wearing a helmet, but I was saying that the bullet bounced just the way that the angle it glanced off. It bled like crazy, man. It left me with one hell of a headache. Yeah. Do you know what the hardest thing was? The hardest thing was laying there all night, listening to them beg for their mamas. All these young men crying out for their mummies. That's the perversity of it, you see. Them telling me I did a good job. When all these young men are dying. It's not very glamorous. No, sir, it is not a good story, but then I guess it's consistent with war. I think the biggest thing you find, if you read the citations, is there was a feeling that somebody had to do something. I did what I did because it was my job. And if I didn't do it, none of us were going to get out.
I deserted the U.S. Army in October 1941. I deserted right after President Roosevelt made a speech saying that no Americans would be fighting on foreign soil. I deserted. Hitchhiked across the border, enlisted in the Canadian Army. They sent me to England to be radar specialist, but by the time I got there,
Wouldn't you know? The U.S. had entered the war. I went to the embassy in London. I said, "Excuse me. How do I get back in the American Army?" See, they didn't know they had a deserter on their hands, and of course it took a while for my records to process. There's a lot of red tape in the Army.
in the meantime, they send me to North Africa. First contact with the enemy, Majazelbab, Tunisia. We were trying to take Tunis, but they were sending us in piecemeal, and Rommel creamed our ass. Now, during the fracas, a half-track, which is a very large, tank-like vehicle, full of ammo, got caught in the shelling, and it was on fire. Well, I got into it, drove it away from our troops. Soon as I got it clear of our people, I rolled out, and it blew up. They gave me Silver Star for that. Some months later at the Kasserine Pass, I shot down a Messerschmitt with a 50 caliber machine gun jury-rigged on the back of a half-track.
Which is a very large tank-like vehicle. They made me corporal after that. Eventually, I received the European African Campaign ribbon with 7 campaigns and 3 amphibious assault landings, North Africa, Salerno, and Anzio, Italy. You know, I recently watched the movie Anzio with that actor, Robert Mitchum. It's a pretty good movie. And that Bobby Mitchum, he reminds me of me. Now, this whole time I'm receiving partial pay because they don't have my records, mind you. I'd already fought 6 months in Africa, 6 months in Italy. I had the Silver Star. I was a buck sergeant. Finally, my records come in. I get $2,000 in back pay, and they court-martialed me. I was in Naples, and the lieutenant, George Crick, said, "Sergeant Millett, you were court-martialed yesterday, found guilty of desertion, fined $52. A week later, they made me second lieutenant. That's the army. The war in Italy ended April 29, 1945, and I was home by the 1st of June. In 49, the army called for volunteers. I volunteered. Inshan, Osan, Pusan, Kesan, Ungak. The Korean conflict. The forgotten war. Now, this is December 1950. In this period of time, the enemy said that Americans were afraid of the bayonet. So I said, well, let's just teach those bastards something, because both my great-grandfathers fought in the Civil War, and you know damn well they used the bayonet all the time. So I said, next attack we make, it's bayonets. They were dug in high atop a ridge. They opened fire. I directed the gunner to lay down covering fire, and I alerted the men, fix bayonets and follow me. We charged across 100 yards of icy rice paddy, yelling and screaming. I taught my people, Shilai Sani, or something like that. I got it out of a pamphlet. It means, I'm going to kill you with my bayonet, or something like that. Anyway, we made the charge uphill. Right at the crest, I got 3 of them. The first 2 through the throat. The third I lunged, and the bayonet went into his forehead like it was a watermelon. We left a bayonet up the ass of the enemy commander with a sign that said, compliments of easy company. It is war, you know.
I've had a crippled leg ever since I got shot down mauled by Marvin Street in North Vietnam. I don't use canes. I just limp along. I can't raise my left arm above the shoulder. My name's Jim Stockdale, and if you recognize me, it is perhaps because I ran for vice president in 92. I was on the ticket with Ross Perot. Politics, not my line. Vietnam War started August 4, 1964, I knew. I led the strike that started wing commander. Flew almost 200 missions in Vietnam. I was dropping bombs. Got shot down September 9, 1965. I ejected. Short-lived my aircraft.
Crusader, crown jewel of the time. I bailed. Short-lived was hit. Now, I had been flying low, 100 feet, so that's low. So when I hit hard. Main street of this town, locals estimate 25 or 30 of them. They just hammered me, just twisted, bent, busted me up. Finally, some guy wearing a pith helmet blows a whistle, signals, get up, get up. I can't get up, my leg is too badly damaged. It was broke at the knee. Yeah. Wind up on ping pong table, little short fella comes in, the doctor, reaches into his bag, takes out a hammer. Then he takes out a saw. Then I said, no, sir, no.
No, cut the leg. See, there was this myth out there at the time, or maybe it wasn't, but supposedly they never released ex-prisoners with amputations. Now, I don't have any knee, but, well, that little fella found a way to fuse the bone. So, I spent the next 7.5 years as a prisoner of war. I think we should tread lightly here. The purpose of torture: intimidate and humiliate, intimidate and humiliate, intimidate and humiliate you into reciting anti-American propaganda on a stage in downtown Hanoi. Understand?
Because the U.S. never declared war on North Vietnam, the communists refused to honor the Geneva guidelines regarding POWs. Instead, they routinely tortured prisoners to the brink of death and constantly tried to get you to confess being war criminal against the people of Vietnam. The way it worked, by way of example, was two people, they march in your cell carrying heavy iron pole, which they drop with a dramatic clang. Then you get attached at the ankles to that pole. They put lugs on your ankles, run that pole right through the lugs, and then they weave ropes around your shoulders and under your arms and right down under that pole, and then they begin to pull on those ropes from several directions.
They're pulling you over at the same time your arm's getting splayed back. Till your breastbone's on the verge of cracking. You're disappearing. You're disappearing into a V shape. And then one of them mounts on you and puts his heel in the back of your head and mashes your face right down into this cement. Yeah, you follow. I was ranking naval officer. Hualo prison, that's a Hanoi Hill. As my fellow prisoners' choice for leadership, I set the rules, but my rules would not allow a prisoner to fake submission to the rope. You had to endure considerable pain before you could submit. Now, eventually you do submit. You can't beat them. You can't beat the ropes. You submit, or you die. I went through the ropes 15 times, but I never made that trip downtown. I'd find something, maybe a stool, or maybe just my fist and beat myself. Couldn't even open my eyes, so they couldn't display me. Huh? Now could they? I got to be quite a thorn in their side, and as a consequence, I got handled roughly. One occasion, they shackled me to a rusty pump in a courtyard for a period of several weeks, and this one particularly irate individual periodically beat the living hell out of me whenever the spirit so moved him. You know what kept me going? At some point I heard the unmistakable sound of snapping towels. Yeah. It's like I'm back in the locker room at Annapolis. It was my mates. They're snapping out letters. G, B, U, J, S. That's God bless you, Jim Stockdale. So, good boys. But the incident I mean to tell you about is the day they take me to the main torture room at Hualo prison, and the chief interrogator, this little shit of an officer, says, "Today is the day we bring you down." And they put me in a hardback chair. And you know, it doesn't sound reasonable when I describe it, but please understand, I'm the leader. I've got to show resolve. The room had plate glass windows, and at some point the guard, he stepped outside, and I hobbled over to those windows, and I managed to break the glass with the heel of my hand, and I took the longest shards, and I began stabbing my wrists, and my blood ran blue. Then it ran red, then it ran hard, and then I blacked out. And when I came to, the room was filled with soldiers, and they all looked so deeply ashamed that this would happen even to an American. And then they bandaged up my wrists, and they scrubbed that room down with a disinfectant. And then they left. And then I got put back into solitary. Parenthetically, I spent 4 years in solitary. This time I was in for 3 months while my arms healed up, you see. And the point is that, the point is that when I got back out into the regular prison system, I learned that since I had done this thing, no prisoners had been put through the ropes, or any torture of any significant variety, so good. I remained a prisoner for another 3.5 years, and it wasn't until I was released in the spring of '73 that I learned that my wife, my Sybil, had led a group to Paris in '69 and urged the North Vietnamese to grant better treatment to the POWs, and I think that she must have made quite a lot of noise. Oh yes, I believe that she saved my life, because I believe that the last thing that they wanted on their hands was Sybil Stockdale's dead husband. We'd been married 18 years, the time I got shot down. See, when I went away, my boys, they were 14 and 10 and 5, and 3. So of course, when I got back, of course, they didn't know me as father. But you know, over the next few years, each one of them came to me, each in his own time and each in his own way. And he told me, I'm glad you're my father. So, good boys.
Our first supper together, first time we sat down as a family in 8 years. And Sybil said, Jim, do you want to say grace? And I bowed my head, but I started to shake, and I said, Syb, I can't. And she said, well, let's just say our family grace. And do you know, that's what we did. We all held hands. And we said, God is great. God is good. Let us thank him for our food.
I don't do impressions very well. But Ed Wynn, I do. My Ed Wynn is, I'm your fairy godfather. Ooh. That's the only one I can do. I don't do. Yeah. Let's go see what we got here.
My mother's brother was wounded in Europe in World War II. He was always a hero to me, always red, white, and blue. Yeah, his name was Herschel Meadows, but we called him Uncle Pee Wee. He was tiny, but he was tough as a railroad spike. He wouldn't tell you too much about what he did. We said, so how'd you get shot, Uncle Pee Wee? He'd say, well, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm Nick Bacon. I was born November 24th, 1945 in Caraway, Arkansas. When I was 6, we lost the farm, cotton prices fell, and we moved on. It's pretty grapes of wrath stuff. 5 sisters, 2 brothers, and my mother. She took care of all the kids, the washing, ironing, work in the fields, anything. Support, maintain the family. See, my father was very sick with polio, yeah. He spent 18 months in the hospital, iron lung. Man, I don't know how they paid for that. There's no help with money, no help with the rent or anything. So I dropped out of school after 9th grade. I went to work, bucking bales, driving tractors, irrigating, everything you got to do on a farm. 75 cents an hour. Woo! Hey. I'll tell you one thing I hate. I hated picking cotton. And I guarantee you one thing, I never went back to it. Once I was old enough to hold a man's job, I'll do sheetrock, I'll do concrete work, I'll do any kind of heavy work. I'm not picking no damn cotton. So, I went in the Army when I was 17, just to get the hell out of Dodge, yeah. I went into heavy weapons, because, well, I figured I wouldn't have to walk so much. I spent a bunch of time on freezing cold exercises in the mountains of Germany. You know, Germany, in the wrong places, it's a very cold country. The wind blows, the snow, man, is cold. I was making $84 a month. I sent half of it home. So, by early January '66, I was in country, Vietnam. Assigned 2nd 16th Ranger Recon Platoon. Oh, I never got to use all my great talents and skills and heavy weapons. I was a grunt. We ranged all over the Central Highlands, the old plantations. We ventured into Cambodia when we were not supposed to be there. we went down to Mekong Delta any number of times, and man, I hated it down there. I remember the mud. I remember crawling in the mud, waiting for the mobile riverine force to get us out of there after the enemy attacked us with grenades. You know, mud ain't gonna stop a grenade. Oh man, that was some crazy situations. Look. I've been in a ton of ambushes. I've seen a lot of guys get blown up by booby traps, but I never was in anything I hated more, felt more helpless. I didn't have mud, yeah. You can't do a damn thing in the mud. A lot of men died in the mud. I never ever felt anything about killing the enemy. No, I looked at them as they were the enemy. Well, I had compassion for the people, the women and the children. I liked the Vietnamese people. I've been over there since. I got no hatred. War, never personal. With me, it was absolutely a game of survival. I mean, I guess I thought about getting killed myself at first, but a person gets callous to that after a while. You get calloused. You kind of accept the fact there's a pretty good chance you're not going to make it out of there. I mean, you are infantry, yeah. Well, there's an equally good chance you will make it out of there wounded. We call that early out, yeah. See, I think maybe you worry that first 2 months and that last 2 months and that big in-between. Well, you really don't give a shit. Excuse me, ma'am.
West of Tam Kee, Republic of Vietnam, 26 August, 1968.
That's
Staff
right.
Sergeant Bacon distinguished himself while serving as a squad leader. Staff Sergeant Bacon quickly organized. He led his men forward. He advanced. He destroyed. He assumed command. He assaulted. Without hesitation, he ignored hostile fire. He exposed himself to intense fire. He directed fire. He eliminated the enemy. He evacuated the men. He rescued the men.
I read someone one time say something like, war is a young man's game. Now, as you get older, you like to think you're still tough. You can still strap it all on and head for the boonies, but you can't do it. Wars are fought by young men, strong, brave young men, and women. I was a great jungle war. Hey. I'm still pretty rough, tough old fart, but I'll tell you what, I couldn't huff the boonies very long today. It is a young man's game, and you know, every day I look at them and I envy them. I was never proud. I was never more sure I stood for something in my life than I was when I wore the uniform.
Sir, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
Did you enjoy combat?
You don't. I enjoyed the game. I mean, not just something you're gonna dream up to do every day. Honestly, I'm good at it. It's the simple things make you good. It's not that you can shoot straighter than anybody or run faster than, no. It's your senses. They get very, very sharp. You learn to cook and to eat what's out there. You learn where to find water. You know where not to walk. As simple as that. If it's too easy, don't do it. There's gonna be something you're gonna step on and somebody's gonna get blown to hell. If it looks too easy, it is.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hey, son, don't you let nobody smoke around you when you're in a dense area. Just don't never light up in the jungle. Yeah, and don't you leave anything behind that they can use, and you use everything you can that they leave behind. Yeah, and don't let your radio antenna stick up off your head, man. Tie that sumbitch down, throw your poncho over it so don't look like a radio. Yeah, and don't be running up to me with a handset in your hand. Just don't never run behind my ass, and don't you never holler medic and call him out in the open, or I'll shoot you myself. Now, you sure don't want to put a new man on point, and I don't care what you see on TV or in the movies, and never put dumbass on your best weapon, your M60 machine gun. You want somebody strong enough to handle that gun, somebody that's good enough and brave enough to stay with that gun because it will draw fire. You're sure going to want to have two good ammo carriers with him because a rapid rate of fire can be a lifesaver. You're going to want a blooper gunner and M79 grenade launcher, man. You got to know who your skilled people are. You got to know how to use them. You got to protect them. You got to count paces so you know how far you've come. Even if you're crawling, you're counting paces. If you're smart, you're going to count a little rope so you can tie knots in it every time. You go 100 paces, 100 meters. You tie a knot. That's how you do it when you can't see nothing. Man, there's 100,000 ways to make a booby trap. You better learn to recognize them because if you don't, Bouncing Betty, she going to take you off at the waist, son. You going to be a double amputee. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yes, I enjoyed combat. I enjoyed the game.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
The action started that day when they suckered us in. See, they dug in, we was out in the open, and they inflicted considerable damage. And I guess at some point I did,
took off, baby. Bullets blazing, grenades flying. You tell me it's a dumb way to do it, I'll tell you it's the only way to do it. See, the problem was getting the wounded out, because we couldn't call in the F-100s till we got the wounded out, and that took all day. And the whole time we were getting our asses wasted from the flags, but we got them out, and then we wasted them. With napalm. They say we killed 700. I can't never remember if we killed 760 or 670. I don't know how anybody ever counted them. I do know I received the Medal of Honor November 25th, 1969, in the White House from President Nixon with my family there. Yeah, my father, he come all the way to Washington. He was so sick by this time. He just overwhelmed by everything. I mean, my whole family was, but Dad was proud. So was my mother and my brothers and myself. Country people, huh? They give us the full VIP treatment, wined and dined, the nicest hotel, chauffeured, limousine. Hey. We was in high cotton. It was big stuff. Decidedly big stuff. I was going to prepare some remarks, but basically I never got around to it, and quite frankly, public speaking, memorization, it's not my forte. So I thought, you know, it'd be all right. Maybe I would just, if it's okay, read a few excerpts from the citation. I mean, that'd be all right. That'd be all right?
If that's what you prefer, Mr. Cafferata.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that is what I prefer, whoever the hell you are. So, all right, with no further ado, huh? Citation. Citation, Cafferata, Hector A. Jr., Private, U.S. Marine Corps. I don't know, maybe I should, yeah. Yeah, I think maybe I should preface things by telling you, I was a Marine, happy kid. I was always gonna be a Marine, but WW2 was over. I didn't think there'd ever be another one. Shit, I'll never forget how sad I was the day the war ended. I mean, look, my old man is over there, and I'm sad because the war ended. What an ignatz, huh? But you know, I couldn't see being a peacetime Marine. Marine Corps Reserve Company, F, that's the Fox Company. Actually, they ended up calling the hill Fox Hill after Fox Company, although I believe the correct name is Toktung Pass. Oh, yeah. It's at the south end of Chosin Reservoir. You know, frozen Chosin. It's about 8 miles from Hagaru Regis, down the line from Udumne. Anyway, you slice it, it's a long way from Jersey. When all the other members of his fire team became casualties during the initial phase of a vicious attack by a fanatical enemy of regimental strength. Oh, yeah. These were some tough fortune cookies. They were tough and tenacious and courageous, but confidentially speaking, I don't think that they were all that well organized or all that highly trained, but there sure were a lot of them, and I mean a lot, as in over 1,000. Ha! So, Private Cafferata waged a lone battle with grenades and rifle fire. That's not strictly true. See, Benson was right there beside me the whole time. He was loading rifles. He couldn't see nothing because he got flash blinded by a grenade, but he could load rifles by feel. I mean, hell, he could load rifles in his sleep. Who couldn't, huh? Yeah, Kenneth Benson was a pisser. Went to high school right near me. We both played some semi-pro football. Oh, yeah. Hated each other's guts. Used to beat the shit out of each other. We wind up in the same foxhole. Go figure. See, thing is, he didn't panic. If he'd have panicked, I think I'd have panicked right along with him. But no, not Benson. He was as cool as the other side of the pillow. Kenneth Benson. He was a great guy. Making a target of himself under devastating fire from automatic weapon, rifle, grenade, and mortar, he maneuvered up and down the line, delivering fire against the onrushing enemy. What I did was I plugged the line. Hey, you know that story about that Dutch kid who shoved his finger into a dike, thereby saved Holland? I mean, that's basically what I did. I mean, not Holland, but what? Killing, whatever. wounding many more, yeah. Yeah, you know, when you look them right in the puss and you shoot the poor bastards, you feel lousy. What are you gonna do? A hostile grenade landed in a shallow entrenchment occupied by wounded Marines. Private Cafferata was scared shitless. That's what Private Cafferata was. There was a debate going on between my feet and my brain. My feet said, let's get the hell out of here. I guess my brain must have outranked my feet. Cafferata seized the deadly missile and hurled it free of his comrades as it detonated, severing. See, they always make more of this than it was. It didn't blow no fingers off. I mean, not that I'd have noticed my hand being basically frozen. Nah, I just kind of blew the meat off the bone. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, oh, these bastards. They're chucking grenades the whole time. You know what I did? I grabbed an entrenching tool. That's a little shovel, darling. And I started batting them away. And I mean, I am just about the worst baseball player that you ever saw. Football, that's my game. I played some semi-pro, which I think I might have already mentioned. Anyway, I just start whacking them away like I am DiMaggio or something. And for some reason, probably because I am scared shitless, I batted 1,000. Courageously ignoring the intense pain, he staunchly fought on. By the by, all I had on was my socks. Oh, stop it. I had my pants on, but no boots and no parka. See, I was a pretty big guy back in those days. I was 6'2", 220, and you know, you couldn't fit into the mummy bag with your boots or your parka on. Hey, good planning, fellas. Anyway, when the shitstorm starts, I jump out of the bag firing, as does Benson, which is when he gets blinded. And by the by, I fired so many rounds. The top of my rifle barrel turned to charcoal. Oh, that's God's truth. That's God's truth. Anyway, that's why I didn't have my boots on. Stout-hearted, yeah. And indomitable in the face of almost certain death. Yeah, I remember thinking, boy, is my mother gonna be pissed off if I get killed. Conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity. One would think I'd be able to pronounce it by now. Intrepidity. Would you believe I didn't even know I was put up for the Medal of Honor? Yeah, when I get out of the hospital, oh, and by the by, Benson's sight, it came back. Yeah, he helped me down the mountain when we fought our way to Hagaru. Then he gets wounded again in the shoulder this time, and we both wind up in the same hospital. Anyway, when I get out of the hospital after a lot of operations, see, they tried to stretch the nerve ends to suture them, but no dice. I could still move my trigger finger. Yeah. But I got to use my left hand for other things. Anyway, I'm back in Jersey. I get telegrams saying, you have been awarded the Medal of Honor. Come to Washington and get it. I called them. I said, send it. They said, get your ass down here! Yeah, I did, yeah. Truman, oh, that little son of a... God, he ruined my shoes. You know he was a runt. And I mean, I'm 6'2", 220, I was. And I'm standing there at rigid attention, and Mr. Shorty Pants was trying to get his arms around me to snap the ribbon on, and it ain't working, so I gotta kind of slink down, and whilst I'm slinking down, he is standing all over the spit-shine shoes, scuffed the hell out of them. But you know what? I never shined them again. Oh, yeah. Above and beyond the call of duty. That's what it says. You know, I'll tell you something. What I just read, I did it. And I know I did it, though I'll be damned if I know how I did it. But I can tell you why I did it. Because I'm a Marine. That's just what Marines do. I never did get the opportunity to meet Vernon Baker. Our geography just never aligned, but I've often had a daydream, though, about Baker, where I'd knock on his door, and Baker would answer the door with his M1 in his hand,
And Vernon looks me up and down, and finally he says, "Well, I always figured it would be Morgan."
My grandmother, Dora Baker, had the worst disposition of anybody I have ever seen in my life. She was the meanest woman I have ever run across. Spiteful. It seemed like she hated everybody. It surprised me that Grandpa was so calm and cool with her. I never heard him raise his voice to her at all. After I grew up, I realized
She suffered from rheumatoid arthritis, couldn't walk. Confined to a wheelchair for 22 years. She's in pain 24 hours a day.
I guess that could ruin anybody's disposition, but when I was a kid, I hated her. My name is Vernon Baker. I was born in 1919 in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Yeah. Emmanuel Calder and Beulah Baker, who were both killed in an auto wreck while I was still an infant, so I was reared by my grandmother, Dora, and by my grandfather, Joseph Baker. He's a railroad man.
Now, as much as I hated my grandmother, well, that's how much I loved my grandfather. I idolized him. Yeah. One time I told him, I said, "Grandpa, when I grow up, I want to be just like you." And he said, "No, boy, you don't grow up to be anybody else. You want to be yourself." I never forgot that. You want to be yourself. He was a quiet man, but he was a tough man. He carried a .45 in his overalls when he went to work. He took no shit from nobody. It was him taught me to shoot on double-barrel 12-gauge shotgun, twin hammers. First time I fired, it knocked me on my ass, and Grandpa laughed. Later on in basic, I qualified as expert marksman. Served me well in Italy. Yeah, let's see where. I believe it's fair to say I was a pretty bright kid. Learned to read early, but I was in and out of trouble. Spent some time at Father Flanagan's boys' home in Omaha. Didn't care for that. Got called home after grandmother died, and I went to work shining shoes. I was making $25 or $30 a week during the Depression, but I hated it. It entailed taking too much guff from assholes. As thin as a red cap, you know, Porter. Union Pacific, same deal. Too much guff, too many assholes. Grandpa died in 1940. Colon cancer. Gentlemen, listen to your children. Listen to the doctor. Get the colonoscopy. It's not that bad. It's not that good. But it's not that bad. It's an ounce of pre-wear, that's all I'll say. Then the war rolled in. April 41, I went down to the recruiting station. Big old fat guy looked up at me and said, "What do you want?" I told him I wanted to enlist. He said, "We ain't got no quotas for you people." And well, I went home feeling kind of, despairing. But that didn't sit right. Months later, I tried again. Different recruiting officer. He just started in asking questions and writing things down. He asked me, "What branch do you want?" I told him, "Quartermaster." And I watched upside down as he wrote, "Infantry." Ha! But I didn't argue with the man because I was in. I got sent to Camp Walters, Texas, where racism hit me square in the face.
A study produced by field grade students at the Army War College in 1937 has concluded that, as an individual, the Negro is docile, tractable, lighthearted, carefree, and good-natured. If unjustly treated, he is likely to become surly and stubborn, though this is usually a temporary phase. He is careless, shiftless, irresponsible, and secretive. He resents censure and is best handled with praise and with ridicule. He is unmoral, untruthful, and his sense of right doing is relatively inferior. On the other hand, the Negro is cheerful, loyal, and usually uncomplaining if reasonably well fed. He has a musical nature and a marked sense of rhythm.
How about that shit? I mean, you see what I mean by taking guff from assholes?
I mean, I was on the bus to Camp Walters. I put my duffel down. I went to take a seat. The driver said, "Get out that seat, nigga. Get him back where you belong." Now, if it had gone to fisticuffs, which it could have, I probably would have got killed. They'd have hanged me. I mean, Texas was bad back then. But I kept my temper in check. Wasn't easy at the time, but I remembered something else my grandfather told me. He told me, don't hate, because if you hate, hate will destroy you. Then, sometime in 42, a white officer, I cannot recall his name, where he told me, sign up for the officer candidate school. So I did. I was commissioned second lieutenant, January 11, 1943. You see, what was happening was they were organizing an all-black division, and on the second, it was the Buffalo Division. We were Buffalo soldiers. That's the name they give the black units way back in the Indian Wars, because our black skin and nappy hair made them think we were like buffalo. Yeah. And now at the time, if you were black and you went to division headquarters, even if you were an officer, you went in the back door. You don't walk in the front door of division headquarters. Now, on this particular day, they wouldn't even let us in the back door. So we just sitting there. We're sitting there under a tree, and the chief of staff, and I don't want to recall his name. He gathered us all. He says,
"Well, you know why we're here. All the white fellows have gone over there. Now it's time for you black boys to go get killed."
And that's what he said. Time for you black boys to go get killed. The entire Buffalo Division crossed the Atlantic without an escort, landed in Naples, and from there up the west coast of Italy to Lucca, Pisa, in the front lines. Our first 4 months in combat, nothing but night patrol, reconnaissance.
Mind you, they say blacks couldn't fight at night. That's all we did.
I lost 3 men early on. I mean, I lost them. I put them in a bad situation. Stupidity on my part. I still feel it. Combat, you learn to If you give an order, somebody gets hurt or killed, well, you better learn from that and keep that in the back of your mind and watch out for that kind of situation and don't repeat your mistake. You repeat your mistake, you shouldn't be giving orders because somebody is going to get killed. It's that simple, case closed. It's like my weapon of choice. Damn one guy around. But of course, it took a while to settle on that because it's a learning thing. When we trained, of course, we trained with the 1902 bolt action Springfield. Then, when I got to Italy, they gave me a 30 caliber carbine. I thought that was a pretty spiffy little piece till I saw an enemy soldier take 6 rounds from one and keep on coming, and I said, and I traded that in for the 45 caliber Thompson submachine gun. Next 5 hours in, I threw up that Thompson, I couldn't hit a thing. And I said, Finally, I got the M1. I got the 30-06 with the 8-shot clip that ejected automatically when it was empty. Oh, yes, I loved it. It is a beautiful rifle. It really is. I got one still. I usually keep this one sitting in my bedroom.
For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his own life, above and beyond the call of duty, in action on 5 and 6 April 1945, Lieutenant Baker advanced at the head of the...
Our 26 guys, the objective, the castle, Agonalfi.
Captain William B. Banyan had joined the company about a week before. See, white officers were always coming through to get their tickets punched, get some combat experience, and move on. Well, Captain Banyan, he had been leading us for somehow, he just faded away, man. I don't know what happened to him.
Moving more rapidly than the rest of the company, Lieutenant Baker came within 250 yards of the castle.
Yeah, we got pretty close to that castle, but there was a deep-ass draw between us and it, a couple hundred feet down across and up a hill. And I'm standing there on the edge of that draw when, well, Captain Banyan shows up. So we're trying to figure how to get across that draw when an enemy soldier steps out the brush and lobs this damn grenade. And Captain Banyan, he goes, and he disappears again. And that grenade lands at my feet. But nothing happens.
And that enemy soldier, he disappeared too, but...
Lieutenant Baker shot the enemy twice as he tried to flee. Lieutenant Baker then went down into the draw alone. There, he blasted open the concealed entrance to another dugout with a hand grenade and entered firing. As Lieutenant Baker climbed out of the draw, enemy machine gun and mortar fire began to inflict heavy casualties among the group of 25 soldiers, killing or wounding about 2/3 of them.
Shit, every time man died, I took the dog tags off of him. I had a pocket full when I got back now. After a while, the enemy sent some guys out with stretchers and blankets and a flag with the Red Cross on it. And my men, they wanted to shoot, but I said, no, you hang steady, because if they were medics, well, you don't want anybody firing on your medics. And when they dropped those stretchers and took those blankets away, there were machine guns. I saw where there was some dirty thing done. But that was the dirtiest thing I ever saw. I told my men, hit the bastard! Hit the bastard! Hit the bastard! Hit the bastard!
Lieutenant Baker single-handedly killed 17 of the enemy, taking out 4 machine gun nests, an observation post, 2 bunkers, and
then I went and I vomited my guts out. Son, I didn't count the number I killed. 19 of my men died on that hillside. I lost 2 more on the way in. So when we got back, we were 6-0. And when we got back, Captain Banyan was there. He'd give us up for dead. Banyan received a Silver Star. How about that? I went back down that draw, up that hill the next day. Only people left on that hillside were my dead men, and they were all barefooted. The enemy were gone, but they'd taken the boots and the socks off a dead man.
Lieutenant Baker's fighting spirit and daring leadership were an inspiration to his men and exemplify the highest traditions of the military service.
My commission expired in 47, but I re-upped. In order to stay in, I had to go down to Master Sergeant. But I have no complaints. Look, this was the only country I had. And I felt in my heart that things would get better, that America, the United States, was growing up. Yeah. I retired in 68. Then in 96, I get a call from a university professor who asked me, "What do you know about the Medal of Honor?" And I thought, who the hell is this nut? But he told me the Army was investigating why no black Americans received the Medal of Honor during World War II. And he would like to come and talk to me. And I received the Medal of Honor on a cold January afternoon in 1997 from President Clinton. 7 were awarded that day, but I was the only one still walking around. When the president put that blue ribbon around my neck, I was thinking of 19 bootless men left on a hillside.
Mr. Baker, one thing I will never forget, when I was wounded, the hospital was in the all-black 92nd Division sector, and I don't know whether it was customary or regulation, but every time they gave me a transfusion, they showed me the bottle, and the bottle had the name, rank, serial number, and unit of the donor. Every one was 92nd Division. I had 17 transfusions.
Well,
It sounded to me like you got some buffalo soldier in you there, and I'm surprised your hair didn't get a little nappy.
I don't know about that. I just thank God that blood was available. Otherwise, I would be dead.
Oh, yeah. It's like I told quite a few of the white fellas after the Army got integrated in 48, and they had a problem with that. I told them, you look at me, and you see the color of my skin. But I'll tell you one damn thing. We get out there, something happens, your blood is just as red as mine, and my blood is just as red as yours. We all bleed the same color. You're talking about the 442nd. That is the most decorated unit in the history of the American Army. Isn't that a fact?
I believe that is the case.
Yes. Well, Senator Inouye, it appears to me that quite a few of you fellas must have got transfused by the buffalo soldiers.
There were quite a few of us. There were spaces for 4,500 men in the 442nd, but over 12,000 Japanese Americans passed through because of the high turnover from death and injury in combat. Kind of ironic when you consider the government did not welcome our service. The Nisei, that is second generation Japanese American, were assumed to be spies for Japan, classified 4C, enemy, alien. But somebody got up a petition and it said, we will do whatever you want us to do. Fight! Ditch digging labor battalion. We'll do whatever you want.
In the executive order that established the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, President Roosevelt said, Americanism is not and never has been a matter of race or color. Americanism is a matter of mind and heart. That phrase meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to many of us. It meant boot camp instead of concentration camp. I don't know that I could have stood being interned for the duration of the war, as were 120,000 of my brothers and sisters. I do know that after Pearl Harbor, so very many Nisei felt an overwhelming sense of shame and guilt, and who knows, maybe some of them even thought they deserved to be in those camps. My father and I stood outside our home in Honolulu, watching the dive bombers zooming in, flashing the red ball of the Empire, the rising sun insignia. My own people were just a generation removed from the land that spawned these bombers and sent them to drop death on Hawaii, on my home. I screamed at the sky, you dirty Japs! I wanted to kill them! I am so thankful that when I went into combat, when the 442nd went into combat in June 1943, it was against the enemy in Europe and not the Pacific. But I do recall an incident that made me realize that men are men. Japanese, American, German, just men. We were approaching what we thought was an empty farmhouse when a machine gun opened up from the second floor. It killed my lead scout, my best friend. I fired a bazooka through the open window and silenced the machine gun. I rushed to the second floor to make sure the gun was out of commission. There were 3 soldiers, 2 dead, 1 badly injured. His legs, his arms were in the air, and he said, "Comrade." I had my M1 trained on him, and then all of a sudden he reached into his jacket pocket, an inner pocket, and I thought he was going for a pistol, and I brought the butt of my rifle around and I hit him in... No. I smashed his head in, actually. And the hand flew out with a batch of photographs, a young woman, a little girl. And so, yes, this is the enemy. This is someone's husband or father. Somebody's son. But I felt we had a mission, an ugly mission, and the sooner accomplished, the better. On April 20, 1945, on a high ridge called Colle Musatello near San Terenzo, Italy, I pulled the pin on a grenade, stood up to throw it, and I got shot in the abdomen. and the bullet came out the middle of my back, and I felt like someone had slugged me, but there was no pain to speak of. And I tossed the grenade into a bunker, and then I tossed another grenade, and I carried a bag full of grenades, sort of like a school bag. And as I pulled the pin on yet another grenade, an enemy soldier stood up from 10 yards away and fired a rifle grenade, and that grenade practically tore my arm off. It dangled by... I knew it was gone. And I thought, what about the grenade? My grenade. I had pulled the pin. I knew it was armed, and oh my Lord, it was there. It was in my hand. And the fingers, my own fingers, had frozen around it, and I had to pry the grenade free from my own fingers. And as I did so, the lever snapped open. And I flipped the grenade into the face of the enemy soldier who was reloading his weapon, and the grenade found its target, and then... I can't remember what happened after that. I can't remember. They tell me, after I threw the grenade, I picked up my Tommy gun with my left hand. Mind you, my right is gone, and I charged, and I guess I took out several gun emplacements, and then I was wounded again in the legs this time, and they wanted to evacuate me, and I said, no. And I called my first sergeant over, and I told him I want so-and-so placed here, and I want so-and-so placed here, because it is elementary after a successful attack. The odds are there will be a counterattack, and I want these men ready to defend this ridge. They took my arm off just above the elbow. The day after surgery, I'm still groggy, and the nurse comes by and she says, "Welcome back." And I said, "Can I get a cigarette?" And she looked at me and she said, "Smoking is no good, you know." Just a minute. And she walked away, came back with a new pack of Camels, tossed them on my chest, and walked away again. And I had never opened a pack of cigarettes one-handed. I used my teeth. I got one out, all mashed up. And when the nurse returned, she said, "Good smoke?" And I said, "I need a light." And she said, "Ooh, I'm sorry," walked away, came back with a book of matches, tossed them on my chest, and walked away again. And when she finally came back, she said, "Give me the matches." And she showed me the one-hand light. And then she looked at me. And she said, "You know, I'm not going to be here for the rest of your life. I'm not going to be here to feed you or bathe you or tie your shoelaces or light your cigarettes. You better get started." I never knew her name. It was always Nurse. She was from Eagle Pass, Texas. I will always love her. The day I went off to war, my father accompanied me to the military pickup point. We rode the streetcar all the way from home. During the ride, my father never said a word. He was not a talkative fellow. He just looked straight ahead, and I looked straight ahead. And finally, my father cleared his throat and he said, "America has been very good to us. America has given me 2 jobs, given you and your sisters and brothers education. We all love this country. Whatever you do, do not dishonor your country. Remember, never dishonor your family. And if you must give your life, do so with honor." I knew exactly what he meant. I said, "Yes, sir." Goodbye.
I'm asked quite often, why do you do the show? And there are a lot of reasons. But I think the main reason I do it is because I love a good story. I think stories tell us where we came from. They illuminate the past. They light our road to the future. And I think sometimes they make the present just a little bit easier to bear. We're always going to tell stories. We always have told stories. Around the campfire, at bedtime, to the tribe, to the family, to the kids, and sometimes to the troops. So, thank you, Valor, for hosting Beyond Glory.
President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress March 3, 1863, has awarded in the name of the Congress the Medal of Honor to Specialist 5 Clarence E. Sasser, United States Army, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. Specialist 5 Clarence E. Sasser distinguished himself on January 10, 1968, in the Republic of Vietnam. Without hesitation, Specialist Sasser ran across an open rice paddy through a hail of fire to assist the wounded. After helping one man to safety, he himself was painfully wounded in the left shoulder by fragments of an exploding rocket. Although in agonizing pain and faint from loss of blood, Specialist Sasser reached the man, treated him, and proceeded on to encourage another group of soldiers to crawl 200 meters to relative safety. Specialist Sasser's conspicuous gallantry and extraordinary heroism are in keeping with the highest traditions of the military service and reflect great credit.
The thing about it that I'm most proud of is that my medal was for saving lives rather than taking lives. And not that I have a problem with taking lives or anything. If that had been my job, I would have taken those lives. And I don't have a problem with that. Just that I'm proud that that was for saving lives. It's more my character than taking lives.
Let's move out.